Billionaire asks Black Maid's son to play chess as a joke. Bet $10,000, not knowing he's a genius, ***, a checkmate. For the powerful, the night Caden Briggs changed everything, ***, everyone in the grand hall had gathered for one purpose, to bask in the glow of Meredith Halcombe's triumph. The CEO of Halcombe Innovations stood at the center, icy blonde hair pinned behind her ear, blue pantsuit crisp as cut glass. She held her champagne flute with that signature look of boredom reserved for people whose names were always whispered. With approval all around her, the city's richest whispered about mergers and market shares, eager to win her favor. Everyone, that is, except the quiet boy perched on a small wooden stool near the door. His name was Caden Briggs. 9 years old, he hugged a battered tablet close to his chest, the one his mother, Marble, had saved for months to buy. Caden was not supposed to be here tonight. He had nowhere else to go. Marble, the live-in housekeeper, had pleaded for him to stay in the staff quarters, but Meredith would not allow strays, as she called them, to hide in her mansion. So Caden sat, hoping to be invisible, studying moves on his chess app, more interested in the 64 squares than in silk dresses or sparkling laughter. Suddenly, Meredith's gaze landed on him. Her eyebrow arched with interest, or perhaps with mischief. She was on her third glass of champagne, her lips curling into a dangerous smile. The room hushed as she called out in her sugary sweet voice, the one that always preceded something cruel. "Marble," she drawled, raising her glass, "since your son insists on lurking about, let us make him useful. We could use a little entertainment." Marble froze by the fireplace, clutching a pillow that would never be sat on, her dark hands trembling. "Please, ma'am, he is tired." "Nonsense," Meredith interrupted, settling herself into a chair. "He looks just fine. Bring him over." The crowd shifted, eager for a show. Marble led Caden, hand in hand, to the very center of the ballroom. The lights made him squint. She knelt down, whispering, "Just stand still and say nothing." He nodded, as he always did when his mother asked. Meredith snapped her fingers. "Set up a board," she ordered. An assistant produced a gleaming mahogany chess set with carved ivory pieces. Caden's heart pounded. A tall man with a gold watch protested. "Meredith, surely you do not expect to play a child?" Her laughter rang out, sharp as knives. "Oh, I am quite serious. Let us see if he can even name the pieces." She turned to Marble, a cold smile on her lips. "If your boy somehow wins, I will give you $10,000. Imagine how many tablets you could buy." Some guests laughed. Others looked away, ashamed. Marble's eyes shimmered, but Caden felt a heat rising inside him. He would not let himself be their joke. Meredith beckoned him to the opposite chair. "Come on, little man, sit." Caden placed his tablet gently on the floor and climbed onto the oversized chair, legs dangling above the carpet. The white pieces were his. He had studied this setup in every spare moment, memorizing moves in the basement as his mother worked. Guests crowded closer, phones poised. "This will take 5 minutes," someone whispered. Meredith leaned forward, tapping her manicured nail on the queen. "Do you know what this is, boy?" Caden met her eyes. "It is the queen," he replied, voice soft but sure. "And this, the bishop." She paused, surprised. "Fine, you can begin." Caden slid the king's pawn forward. Meredith copied him, barely watching the board. The opening moves seemed slow and clumsy, at least to Meredith, who smirked and preened for her friends. But by the 10th move, murmurs began to ripple through the crowd. Caden's pieces moved with quiet purpose, weaving a trap. His white knight leaped forward, threatening her rook. Meredith's brow furrowed. "Lucky guess," she muttered, countering. But Caden was unshaken, his eyes fixed on the board. For the first time, Meredith hesitated before moving. She sipped her drink, but her hand was trembling. Marble stood at the edge, hands pressed to her mouth, remembering her son on the basement floor, practicing with bottle caps and whispering moves like prayers. Meredith slammed a piece onto the board. "Your turn," she snapped. Caden picked up his knight, looked her square in the eye, and placed it down. "Check." The room gasped. Cameras zoomed in. Meredith's face paled. She scanned the board, jaw clenched. "You little brat," she hissed. Draining her glass, Caden did not even blink. The mood in the hall shifted. This was not the comedy people expected, it was something far more thrilling. Marble whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Baby, you are doing it." Guests looked back and forth. from the CEO to the boy, seeing for the first time what Marble had always known. Her son was extraordinary. Meredith hovered over her queen. Trapped now. She leaned close, her voice low and venomous. "You'd think you are special. You think you belong here." Caden did not reply. He moved his bishop. Check. Meredith shoved her chair back, rage burning in her eyes. She snatched up her queen, desperate for an escape, but it was too late. Caden moved his rook. Checkmate. A heavy silence fell. Every head turned to the boy in battered sneakers, sitting tall and steady. Caden's hands trembled slightly, but he held his chin high. Marble sobbed with pride. Meredith looked stunned, her mouth opening and closing without sound. An elderly man in a grey suit finally broke the silence. "Young man, where did you learn to play like that?" Caden swallowed. "I taught myself," someone in the crowd whispered. "Unbelievable." Meredith rose, face red as a flame, glaring down at Caden as if he had ruined her world. In a way, he had nothing would ever return to the way it was. The crowd, once eager to please her, now watched her with new eyes. Her power had cracked. Caden sat still, afraid to move, fearing he would be pushed back into the shadows. Marble wept openly, never having seen her son acknowledged like this, not with pity, but with awe. Meredith's voice finally cut through the quiet, sharp and brittle. "Get out." But she was not looking at Marble. Her gaze was locked on Caden as if he had taken something she could never reclaim. Marble flinched, wiping her tears with her apron. "Yes, ma'am." "No," interrupted the man in the grey suit. He stepped forward, eyes kind and steady. "My name is Theodore Wynne. I run the Wynne Initiative, a scholarship for gifted young minds." He turned to Meredith. "This boy just proved himself. He deserves respect, and you owe it to him." Meredith's lips curled. It was luck. Just a child's lucky guesses. Caden glanced at the board, still frozen at checkmate. "It was not luck," he said, his voice stronger. "I practiced, I learned." Marble put a hand on his shoulder. "Let's go, baby. We do not belong here." But Theodore's voice cut through the tension. "He belongs here more than most. Meredith, you promised $10,000 in front of all of us." Meredith's face drained of color. "That was not a promise." Theodore pressed. "Phones were filming." "Pay him, you said it yourself." Meredith's hands shook as she ripped a check from her book. She shoved it towards Marble, who hesitated. "We do not want your money." "Yes, you do," Theodore said gently. "Not for the money, but for what comes next." Marble's voice quivered. "What do you mean?" He knelt beside Caden. "I have never seen a child play like that. You saw 15 moves ahead, did you not?" Caden's eyes glowed. "I tried." "Do not try no," Theodore said. "You have a gift. I want to help you," Meredith scoffed. "He's just a maid's son." "Enough," Theodore declared, voice ringing. "It does not matter where he comes from. He is going places." Meredith waited for support. None came. In that moment, Caden realized Meredith's power was not built on kindness or brilliance, but on fear, and for the first time, no one was afraid. Marble hugged her son, whispering, "I am so proud of you." Every late night in the basement, every whispered move, every hope, suddenly, all of it mattered. Theodore turned to Marble. "There is a school in Boston, the Wynne Scholars Program. Full tuition, room, board, coaching for international tournaments. If he wants it, the spot is his." Marble's eyes filled with disbelief. "Boston, but you can," Theodore said. "You have to." Caden's heart thudded, hope and fear warring inside him. "Mom, can I?" She looked at Meredith, now just a woman clutching a check, defeated and alone, then at her son, radiant under the chandelier. "You can," she whispered. "You will." Suddenly Meredith's voice rose, shrill and desperate. "You are making a mistake. He is nobody." Marble took the check, folded it, and set it on the chessboard. "No," she answered, her voice clear. "You are wrong. He is everything." Applause broke out, soft at first, then swelling until it filled every inch of the hall. Meredith's face burned with rage, but it no longer mattered. She had lost. Caden took his mother's hand, and together they walked past the stunned crowd, toward the doors. Just before leaving, he glanced back. The Black King lay toppled, exactly where he had left it. Outside, the evening air was cool and clean. Marble cupped Caden's face. "You did this," she whispered. "You changed everything." "I just played," he replied. "No," she said, tears shining. "You showed them who you are." Theodore appeared at their side. "Business card." in hand. Call me tomorrow, we will start the paperwork. Caden accepted it, feeling the weight of dreams suddenly real. Together, they descended the marble steps, stepping out into a world that had just grown larger. If you are still watching, this is your moment to subscribe. The next chapter of Caden's journey is just begin.